The Demon Within, Chapter 5. I wake up groaning, rubbing a painful spot on my side where a fresh bruise was forming rapidly. Faint memories of another argument with Curlia faded from my mind, and the thought of her kick littered it, her bright red boots as they made an impact against my side. I opened my eyes to see my room, only lit up by the light of the sun outside. The fresh morning breeze calms the cold chill and brings a relaxed feeling all throughout my bones. I sat there for a few minutes, just basking in the light before my eyes trailed over to my backpack by the door. I pulled it upright, my eyes widening as I remember yesterday, almost hoping it was a dream, but the pain that rushed through my body as I went to stand up told me otherwise. I stand, leaning against my bed, clutching the bruise on my side in pain as my body aches. The calmness of just sitting in my bed seemed so welcoming, but the thoughts of yesterday littered my mind too much to even think about going back to sleep. The last thing I could remember from yesterday was the scream trapped in my lungs and a blur of Star's blue wings before now. I take a step towards the backpack, a little dazed, still, like it was all a dream. But I see one little sticky note left on the top. It was blue, one of Star's. I sigh and look back out the window behind me, resting on my bed frame before my eyes drift to the clock on my bedside table. I flinch as it blinks. 10:47. Oh, heck! I scramble. I quickly turn to the door again, sprinting to grab my bag. Mom's at work. Star left me behind, and I'm late for school. Sucks. I mumble, stopping short once I grab the note from my bag. Hey, sis. If you remember anything from yesterday, just know that Winter is okay. He's a little sorry for getting worked up about it, but he wanted to leave his own note for you as well. I hope it's not too bad. He wouldn't let me see it. But anyway, take the day to calm down and relax. Love ya. I sigh and sit on the ground in front of my bag, taking notice of the lack of notes, understandably. There was one note left at the bottom of my bag, my belongings stacked nicely beside it. I assume they went through it thoroughly to make sure not even one note got left behind. Even the pockets were emptied. I sigh, disappointed in myself for whatever made me stoop that low. I gently placed Star's note on my books and grabbed the note at the bottom of my bag. It was a white sticky note, so even if Star didn't say, I'd know it was from Winter. We had all gotten a whole bunch of sticky notes in a package, and we decided blue, white, and purple. It was pretty easy to say who got what. I grabbed the note and began to read it. Emma, what you did was stupid. I know you're going through a lot Star won't let me forget, but that was stupid. I sigh, snickering softly as I ran my hand through my hair. I was about to put the note back beside Star's, or crumple it and throw it away before I noticed some writing on the back. For Curlia, written at the top. I felt my heart race, and Curlia seemed to be more present as we read. We may be unstable magic to you, but I'll make you eat those words once I find a spell to get rid of you for good. And I'm sure you know that already. I could hear Curlia groan in anger as the paper burst into flames. Deep red flames, much like the fireball I had formed yesterday. The hold Curlia had over my magic was starting to be too much for me to handle. It was fine when I just couldn't do anything, but now she's using it against me in every way possible. I'm sure she could kill me like this. Oh, I could, she says, laughing softly. I whine and rest my head on my hands, my palms on my eyes as I try and focus on just myself. Oh, come on, Emma. You can't block me out forever. Stop it. I whimper, defeat lacing my words as tears pool in the palms of my hands. You're doing so much. You're ruining my life. Isn't that all enough? She laughs at my words, a smile laced in her laughter as it rings in my ears. Oh, Emma, don't you remember what I said? She chuckled, and I could see her in my mind as I focused. She was glaring down at me with a big smile. I'm going to break you down, piece by piece. And you already saw how easy it was for me yesterday. And look how much more broken you are this morning. She laughs, cheerfully as she walks around me. I bite down on my tongue, shoving her to the back of my mind as I force myself to stand up, stuffing my books back into my bag and then walking out of my bedroom door, stumbling down the hallway towards the stairs, my legs shaking underneath me, weak pain through my whole body. I ignored it as I got ready for the day, then headed downstairs. I looked in the fridge to see some leftover pancakes and take one for the road as I put my sweater on and head out the door. As I turned to lock it behind me, I couldn't help but feel guilt flow through my shaking hands as Star's note plays in my head. She wanted me just to rest today, to take it easy and recover. And even though I could tell my body was doing its best to tell me to rest, I couldn't. If I took this day to lay in bed, it would only give Curlia more ammunition, more reason to attack me, to break me down more than ever. My jaw tightens as I click the lock and turn towards the way to school, munching on a pancake as I walk. I groan, distaste for the building in front of me as I reach the doors, not hesitating to head inside and grab my late slip before I stand out here all day. The receptionist smiled politely and handed me the slip of paper before returning to my class. As I threw my backpack in my locker, I couldn't help but dread the next few footsteps towards my class. As I noticed my tight limbs and shaking hands, I decided to take a breather first, head to the bathroom, and just take some time to calm down. I flinch as I see Ira fixing up her hair and smiling. I take this moment just to tease her a bit, sneaking up on her and poking her side, making her jump and scream slightly. "Emma, where have you been?" she said, smiling and jumping around slightly. I smile as I feed off her hyper energy. I just slept in, and it seems Star forgot to wake me up. I smile and push her softly. "Were you worried about me?" I tease, and she rolls her eyes. "Of course! Star and Winter were acting weird all day." I felt a cold chill run up my spine, but shook it off as she kept talking. "Well, I'm sure they're weird every day, especially when they're together." She laughs and goes back to fixing her hair. I turn towards the mirror, shaking my head with a smile and noticing my messier than usual hair. I sigh and ruffle it up so it settles a bit better before flinching as I notice the red to the color of my eyes, the magic seeming to glow from it. I felt myself shaking as I noticed the familiarity of Curlia's eyes. I couldn't get away from it. Hell, I wasn't safe anywhere from her. I glanced at Ira, quick and terrible thoughts running through my head. My friends weren't safe from her as long as I was around them. I'm gonna head to class. I'll meet up with you later," I say, walking to the door. "See you, Emma," she says, waving me goodbye before groaning at her bangs and moving them to the other side than what they were on before. I chuckled softly as I head to class, finally. As I walk into class, my books were under my arm and my head was down to ignore the rowdy kids in front talking too loud for my ears as I walk by. I glanced up to find a path to walk to my desk, only to stop in my tracks as I saw Winter glaring at me. I could see the muscles in his face twitching, and Star, unaware, was rambling about her work to him. I felt his icy, silver eyes staring into my soul. I couldn't tell if he meant it towards me or Curlia, but it pained me to see him so filled with hate. "Run." I felt my body stiffen as Curlia fueled my thoughts. There was almost no stopping the movement of my feet at her words, taking a quick step back as my anxiety rose. Her words mixed with my own as I glanced behind me towards the door, only to turn back and see Star looking at me, surprised. My body shook as I looked past her and back at Winter. His left eye was black as he glared me down, stopping me in my tracks as Star calmly came up to me. "Emma!" She softly grabs my hand. I looked at her, fear rising as Curlia's words rang in my ears. I needed to run, not for my own safety and away from Winter, but for Star's safety and to keep her away from Curlia. "When did you get back? Did I miss you in the other class?" She pauses, words caught in her throat as she looks into my eyes. "Are you okay?" she says softly. I was breathing quickly, my body urging me to run, but I feared any movement as long as she held on to me. The extra strength I had could hurt her, just like I hurt Winter yesterday. My eyes widened as I stared down at my shaking hand. I was going to hurt her. I was going to hurt all of them. I looked back up at Star, too weak to mask the fear on my face, which made her flinch and let go. She looked scared, not of me, but for me. "Are you sure? After what you did yesterday, I would be scared of you if I was her." Curlia's voice cheered out, her laughter following as my fear rose, fear of hurting her. I took a quick glance back at my hand to see her back at her side. I couldn't hurt her now if I ran. And so I did. I don't know why it almost felt so relieving to run away from her. My feet moved quickly out of the door and through the hall. I could hear her protest behind me, too calm and nice to cause a scene, much like how I was. It was easy to leave her in the dust as I ran to the quietest place in the school, a hall that wasn't used until after school for other clubs, with a bathroom tucked away at the very end, used even less than the classrooms. I pushed open the doors. Fearful tears in my eyes blurred my vision and made me stumble onto the ground, my books going flying around the floor. I was able to catch myself with my hands, now on my knees, looking into my reflection on the tile ground. Curlia laughed as I stared into her eyes, my reflection replaced with her own. The darkness in the room only added to her poison. I closed my eyes as I pushed myself up. The dim, almost burnt-out lights made it disorientating, like Curlia was all around me in every shadow. I dragged my limbs into a stall, afraid to lash out at anyone who might come in and see me like this. I pushed myself against a wall, breathing heavy. My eyes glued onto the door of the stall, the lights making it just barely the brightest thing in here to keep my eyes away from the shadows. I looked at my fist as it shook. There were small scrapes where I landed, and I saw it shaking. The only thought that ran through my head was to take the anger out, let it out in some way. The cold tile wall behind me seemed even more aggravating than the hold Curlia had on me, and as I raised my arm, my shoulder tightening to punch the wall beside me, I heard footsteps outside. 2 sets of footsteps that came close to the door. My eyes were glued to the stall door again, fear running through my shaking body with no release. I could hear talking outside, muffled and familiar voices that only made me angrier as I held it all down. I could see it now, the saddened look on Star's face when she came in, begging me to have listened, to stay at home and taken the day off. I couldn't stop the tears that streamed down my face as I heard the door creak open. A soft gasp coming from her voice as I'm sure she noticed my books everywhere. "Emma?" she said softly as she approached the door of the stall I was in, pushing on it softly before she noticed it was locked. I didn't understand the anger that fueled inside of me. She just wanted to help, and I wanted her the farthest than ever away from me. "Leave me be," I say, almost a growl coming from my vocal cords, but the moment I said it, I felt guilt rise up. Tears blur my vision once again as I bite down on my tongue. There wasn't even time before I saw her feet turn and walk away towards the door. I felt a surge go through me as I pushed myself off the wall towards the door. "Wait!" I choked on my tears as I heard her keep walking, slowly, but there was anger in every step she took towards the door. I fumbled with the lock and swung it open. "Starine, please! I didn't mean it!" I stare at her as she turns to me, disappointment and anger in her gaze as she stands her ground on the other side of the bathroom. The dim light fueled a fear I didn't know I had of her as her eyes glowed softly but brightly, royal blue lighting up her features slightly. I felt pain tear through my body as she began to speak, her voice so calm, laced with anger and emotion I couldn't see through. I felt my body shake as she turned her head. "This is why I told you to stay home." "Even your own sister thinks you're uncontrollable," Curlia remarks, faster than I could even open my mouth to protest. I watched as she took another step away from me. I couldn't control my feet as I quickly stepped towards her, grabbing her arm softly, my eyes filled with tears as I looked at her, pleading, "Please, please don't go!" She flinched as I grabbed her arm, an expression much like pain making her eyes widen before she glared at me, her jaw tight as she swung her arm away from me, her right eye turning black, just making the color in her eyes glow brighter. "Stop it!" she yelled, making the room fall silent between us. I still had my hand outstretched towards her slightly as she stood there, standing strong and brave, her demeanor towering over me. I looked at her arm, redness around where I grabbed with small scratch marks from where she ripped it away from me. I took a step back, and she almost looked hurt as I did, but continued to stand her ground. I was almost happy about it. She wasn't leaving me here. She was still here with me. "You should have listened, Emma." Her voice sounded so disappointed. I felt my legs shaking underneath me. My happiness for her staying here was fading as she glared at me. "You should have just stayed home. It was better for you there, away from everyone." I almost gave in, my legs almost crumbling underneath me. What did she mean by that? Was it for my safety, mental health, protection even? Or was it so I didn't hurt them? Anyone? "I told you. That's all you do." I tried to ignore Curlia's words as I stared at Star, not knowing what to say, not knowing how to plead for her to hear me out. I opened my mouth to speak, trying to think of some way to ask her for help. But I couldn't, and even when I didn't say anything, she huffed, angry like I was wasting her time. Even through all of her expressions, I could still see sadness in her eyes, sadness that made me want to crumble and save her from myself. But I needed to explain to her why I came back, why I was sorry. God, I needed to apologize for so much. "I'm done," she said, turning to the door more suddenly than the last time. Star, please! Star, please don't go!" I reach out for her, my motions and words falling short as she turns around, throwing a fireball at me. I gasp, putting my arm up quickly to block it, tears blurring my vision too much to see how she reacted herself. my vision only getting worse as the pain surges through my arm. Her fire burned my shirt and my arm before it disappeared. My already weak knees gave out under me, and I fell to the floor gasping in pain, too weak to cry out and too hurt to do anything more as I saw her walk out the door in front of me. I bite down on my tongue, tears streaming down my face as the burns on my arms pulse pain all throughout my body, through my shoulder, through every muscle and nerve in my arm. It hurts. It hurts so much, and I didn't have any spell or savior to heal me. And my backpack was in my locker, so I didn't even have a medkit. I sit on my knees, crying silently as I try and push through the pain. My tongue drips blood into my mouth, the taste of iron coating every inch of my throat. I didn't bother to cry out for help. It was my own mistake coming here, and no one would even hear me. I choke back tears as I hear talking outside again, biting down harder on my tongue to try and push past the rest of it. The pain on my tongue was almost enough to ignore at least half the pain in my arm. But I could hear them, just barely over the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. But I could hear them talking. I don't care, Starine, Curlia or Emma, it doesn't matter. They had no hesitation yesterday and broke my damn rib. I felt my eyes widen as Winter yells, almost tuning out Star's whimpering, but even now I couldn't focus on it. I felt so betrayed, or misunderstood. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to hurt him. I get a flash of the way Star's arm looked before she left. I knew it was Curlia playing a trick on me, but no matter what she was trying to say, she was right. I even hurt Star. Hurting her wasn't the right approach, Star yelled, tears in her voice as it shook. I'll listen to you, and I understand you're mad, but what if it wasn't the right thing to do? I could hear her stomp and Winter growl. I don't care. We need her to learn how to control herself, demon or no demon, she's a threat nonetheless. Even more so with Curlia controlling her if that's what you want to believe. He growled more, his voice lowering as if Star was wrong about it. He thought I must have been faking the control she had, just to hurt him. We need her to be afraid of herself. Maybe then she'll understand how much of a threat she is. I mean, for hell's sake, Star, look at your arm. That was an accident, Star yelled, choking on her words as she cried. It isn't her fault. All she wanted to do was protect me. To protect us. My heartbeat was getting louder, echoing between my ears. I couldn't hear much more of what they were yelling about. I heard Ava's name, then Winter yell. I looked down at the tiles, trying not to look at my arm. I needed her to heal me. I needed her help. I weakly stand up and stumble towards the door, pushing it open just to see Star running off. Starine! Winter yells, guilt in his voice as he watches her run off. I flinch as his ear twitches and he turns to me, glaring at me with those glowing silver eyes. He didn't hesitate as his left eye turned black. And what do you want? He said, growling at me. I felt so angry. I wanted to curse out all that he was and all that he'll ever be. My eyes narrowed on him, my body shifting slightly to face him, ready to tell him where to go and how to get there. But as I opened my mouth, my shaking legs crumbled underneath me, my arm slipping off the door, the burnt part of it running down the corner as I fall to my knees, choking on a silent cry as I quickly grasped my arm, only causing more pain. I saw Winter's feet move back, a gasp quickly coming from him. Oh, God, he mumbled. I looked up at him, my head aching from the tears as I glared at him. Emma, I didn't expect her to hurt you. Save it, I groaned, knowing he would be of no use to heal me, to help me. You got what you wanted. Don't act like seeing me like this in so much pain isn't making your sick heart happy to see a demon in front of you, injured and unable to heal themselves. I grip my teeth, biting my tongue as he kneels in front of me, hesitant to even try and help, but silent to my words, not giving me any sign if I was wrong. I breathed heavy through my teeth, my jaw tight and painful. Everything was in so much pain, and it was only getting worse. I began to stand up weakly. I could see conflicting feelings on Winter's face as he watched me, quickly putting an arm out when I began to stumble again. I glared at him, more angry than ever as he tried to help me. I quickly found my footing just to slap his hand away. You wanted this! I could feel Curlia's magic flow through my words as if she was saying it with me. I wanted her to knock some sense into you, not attack you, he he said quickly. What? I yell, my anger slowly numbing the pain in my arm. You've painted me as an uncontrollable monster to her, and when I reached out for her, that's all she saw. She hurt me to protect herself, not from me, but an image you created in her mind. You really think that I would even hurt her? I see him take a step back, his confident front cracking as I yell, only bringing back the memory of the fear in his eyes from yesterday. I broke your rib, I say, conflicted as to why it seems so wrong to say that I did it. After everything I've done, I'd protect myself too. But you know the reasoning, the truth. You saw Corlia and her hold over my magic with your own damn eyes, Winter! I just... Winter mumbled, realizing his actions, realizing just how much Corlia has control over me. He looked so guilty, so sad, but still so fearful. You just what? Wanted me to be scared? To know my power? I am scared, Winter. I'm scared of Corlia. I'm scared of my magic, which I have no control over, mind you. And I'm scared of demons too. I'm scared of my own kind and what they can do. So what do you want to do, Winter? I take a step towards him, anger flowing through me and fear flowing through him. Tell me, Winter, what do you want to do to me that already hasn't happened? I stare him down before I notice the glow of his silver magic at his fingertips. I stop, staring at him with such betrayal. The glow of his magic reminded me of the chains he put Ava in, that he was prepared to put me in. He looked at me, almost more afraid as he noticed that I saw it, that I knew what he was planning to do if I got out of control. But that was just it. He expected me to get out of control every single time. Emma, wait, I was just scared, he said, shaking his hands, making the magic flow anywhere else. I could only glare at him, knowing if I took a step more, he would hurt me. You, Winter Silverstone, are as cruel as Corlia, I say, staring at him. I couldn't bear to look at that fearful expression any longer, so I walked off without letting him say another word. I was glad there were still a few moments of class left. I'm not sure where Winter went or what he was doing now. All that I knew is that I didn't have to look at that fearful expression any longer, and now that the burn was starting to cool, I had a chance to focus on it without the excruciating pain. I sat at my locker, annoyed at the burns on my sweater more than anything. It meant I had to go without it for the rest of the day. I took it off, ruffling out the deep blue shirt underneath as the arms rolled over on themselves. I then went back to my backpack to find more gauze and bandages. At least from all my injuries and battles, I've got a great pain tolerance, I mumbled to myself, biting down on my tongue as I wrapped the wound. It still hurt like hell, but at least Star's magic wasn't as painful or lethal as Corlia's. It was still laced with her healing magic, so the deepest part of it was healed before the fire even went out. I sigh as I look over the bandages covering most of my forearm, and I'm sure Star would catch on and heal me if she were to see. But that's the last thing I want now. I don't want her to feel bad for following Winter's footsteps. He was right. I wrapped my sweater over my arm and hid the burnt part on the inside so that it would just look like I was carrying around my sweater. Everything would be fine. A little awkward, but fine. I wiped the tears from my face and went back to collect my books. The bell rang as I entered the bathroom once more. I sighed as it looked so eerie. Silence falling on my mind as I picked up all my paper. Pain comes to my eyes as I notice one of them having Star's shoe print on it, stretched out across some of the art I was doodling. I picked it up, gently putting it between some books and setting it all on the counters as I fixed up my hair, tried to wash off some of the tear stains, and forced a fake smile until it looked at least semi-real. I could hear so many people outside as they all clambered to get to their next classes. I could either wait until they died down, maybe be a few minutes late, but that would cause quite a bit of eyes on me. Or I could go now, make it on time, blend in with the others, and hope for the best. I groaned, knowing the obvious answer as I sulked towards the door. I weave between people as I head towards my classes. Most people move out of the way before I have a chance to avoid them. I think they do it subconsciously now, but deep down, a terrible reaction nonetheless. It was nice to move a little better between classes, though. I reached my class before Star and Winter even did, taking a moment to relax before the room was full of tension between all of us. Ira came and sat beside me. She was already in there, but she moved seats to be closer. "Hey," she said cheerfully. "Think you can help me on this project today?" Yeah," I say softly, smiling back at her, happy to have a distraction from the class. As she laid her papers down in front of me, I couldn't help but feel uneven, a cold chill, as Star and Winter entered the room. They were silent, not saying hi to me, just sitting down near me like usual. I peeked at Star through my hair as it covered a little bit of my face to see her looking guilty down at her paper, still holding up the front that Winter formed. I doubt Winter told her what happened, not just because she's not running over trying to heal me, but because I'm sure he didn't want to. Ignoring how bad it'd make him feel, it also makes Star feel terrible too. "So, what are we doing again?" I say, looking at Ira. "I'm glad you asked." I helped Ira work on a diagram for a robotic arm through class today. There was still tension throughout class, but at least I had a distraction, and it helped a good amount. Ira seemed to fly through this project, and as I watched her do the research, I couldn't help but wonder if she heard our fight and knew I needed a distraction. She just smiled sweetly at me and nudged me to continue drawing once I had spaced off. "Are you really sure you need my help?" I say, giggling softly, drawing down where some wires could go to keep things organized. "Yep," she said, scribbling down some words beside the diagram. I sighed, smiling softly, and shook my head as we kept drawing. I looked up at the clock, taking time to come back to Earth out of the project in front of us for a while. It was about 7 minutes till the bell rang, and my eyes wandered around the class for something new to focus on for the last few minutes. Clinton and Carl were talking to our left, about a dozen students in front of all of us doing their own work in groups of 2 to 5. There wasn't anyone left out. It made me happy, like reminiscing about the change, and in a good way, thinking that I used to be the only outcast here. I smiled as my eyes wandered to Star and Winter. They were talking quietly amongst themselves, probably talking about Star's project, a small but cute robot fridge, a fun little project she carried from elementary school. She thought of it when we all got the flu and didn't want to get up to eat. I shake my head and smile, starting to stretch only to stop once I feel a tug on my arm, my sweater catching on something on the chair. Fear washed over my face as I noticed it wouldn't budge, and I couldn't turn to unlatch whatever was caught without taking off my sweater. I sit there, my eyes staring through my desk as I try to hide my fearful gaze from everyone. I quickly glanced at Ira, who was finishing stuff up, and then quickly at Star and Winter as I started packing up. If I were to do anything, someone would see the bandages, and then they or someone else would make it a big deal. I can only sit here and hope that they left before I had to. Besides, it was lunch now. Everyone would be so eager to leave for the field. I watched the seconds on the clock tick by slowly, my pulse seeming to move harder through my veins on my arm, drawing more attention to it. Attention only I could see, but attention that made me shake. Ira folds up the paper nicely and stops suddenly, looking at my hand and then looking at me. "Emma, are you okay?" I flinched, looking up at her with a fearful expression, terribly masked by a fake smile. Yeah, I'm fine." My voice cracks and I quickly clear my throat. "Just a little overwhelmed is all. But look, it's almost lunch, so it's no biggie," I say, waving my hand dismissively. "Well, that's a good thing to think about, but you're shaking pretty badly for someone who's fine." I groan at her words and sigh. "Ira, I'm okay," I say, closing my eyes with a softer yet bigger smile, hoping it would mask the fear. I could feel Winter's eyes on me as she slowly went back to packing up her things. "All right, well, I made some better cookies today. Maybe at lunch you could try some." "Yeah, that sounds nice," I mumble, looking back up at the clock. My gaze didn't even reach the hands before the bell finally rang. "Okay, well, I'll go grab them." I flinch as I think back to the spell she used earlier. "Ira, wait, do you have that spell?" But she was already out the door before she could realize what I said. I groan and rest my head on my hand, trying to wait out the rest of the students. I glanced over at Clinton and Carl, watching them smile as they talked with each other, taking their time, which didn't surprise me. They had nowhere to be, no other people to be with other than each other. I sighed softly, almost admiring their friendship. "Emma?" I flinch, pain running through my arm as I jump, my sweater tugging on the chair, moving the bandages under my sweater. "Can I talk to you?" Star said when she got my attention. "Oh God, please just leave me alone. For your sake, just once, leave me alone." I open my mouth to talk, a little saddened as she starts talking before me. "I'm sorry about earlier. I didn't mean to lash out at you, and I didn't mean to hurt you if I did." My eyes widened. She really didn't know, and I'm assuming she forgot I couldn't heal, as she politely smiles at me. I couldn't break her heart like this, not right now. I glanced up at Winter, who had his ears back, an uncomfortable look on his face as he looked at me. We were both thinking the same thing. "No, I'm okay, Star," I mumbled, putting on a fake smile. I felt a surge of pain, like Curlia had just lit a fire under my arm, causing me to jump in pain, moving my arm quickly just for it to pull against my sweater. I could feel the bandages against my arm, pain causing tears to form in my eyes, only fueled more as Curlia laughed. "I thought I could surprise you with that." She laughed as I quickly blinked away tears in my eyes. "You should run, Emma. You know you want to." "Are you sure you're okay?" Star talked at the same time Curlia did, and I couldn't even hear her, accidentally replying to Curlia out loud with a stern and strong no. I flinched as I noticed Star take a step back. "Wait, that wasn't— I'm fine, God." I mumbled to myself, glaring at my arm painfully. I could see Star bend down to talk to me once I moved my head down. "Then you should fight them," Curlia said, causing heat to rise in my hand, her fire wanting to form. I bite down on my tongue and glare at the ground with anger. "Star, I just need space for me right now. I need to protect you from me, from Curlia. We're going to do something bad, and if you don't give me some space, I'm gonna hurt you." My thoughts race, quickly biting my tongue again so they don't come out. "But Emma, I don't understand." "Fight her," the voice repeats in my head. "Please, Emma?" Star said, a bit too demanding as Curlia yelled. "No!" I yell, standing up, my sweater finally unhooking off the chair just to fall off my arm, bringing the already messed up bandages with it to the ground. "I need space, Starine! I can handle things on my own, and I don't need you! You already showed me that you don't need me, so can you just—" Her eyes quickly move to my arm, gasping as she takes a step towards me instinctively. "Emma, your arm! Did Curlia do this to you? Why didn't you tell me?" She looks back up, meeting my eyes as I glare at her. I was almost disgusted by her words, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her wrong. I heard Carl gasp as he and Clinton were walking to the door. Once Clinton looked at my arm, the both of them quickly looked at Winter, not knowing the story behind Curlia and thinking the only other demon to cause a burn like this to me would be him, and until today I would have thought the same. My eyes quickly settled back on Star as she took another step towards me. "No!" I yelled, moving back. "I don't need you!" I could see Winter look hurt, guilt in his eyes as he looked at me, almost pleading with me to just let her heal me. My jaw tightened as everyone's eyes settled on me. I knew what I wanted to say, I knew how much it would hurt her, but I knew it would give me time to myself. She'd be too hurt to follow me for once. She'd know that I really wanted space, to figure it out on my own, or just from a break from her, from the fear of hurting them. "So you do want to hurt them," Curlia said, snickering. I could see her in my mind, trying to intimidate me. I could feel the steps she was taking towards me. I bite down harder on my tongue, trying to suppress the words that begged to be formed. But Emma, I can help you! I want to help you!" Star said, trying to come closer. It was then that I finally snapped. She was too persistent, with too many watching eyes, and even if it was just Clinton, Carl, and Winter right now, I've never been so thankful that Ira ran off. I felt pain in my body, Curlia's magic fighting with me to lash out, to hurt them just so she could break me down more. "Star, enough!" I yell, taking a quick step back to form a bit of distance between us before the fire in my palms burned someone other than me. "You did this to me, Star. I don't care if you were following that mutt's orders." I choke on my words as Curlia's magic flows through my body. I shake my head, reading Star's quickly changing expression from worry to regret. "Or acting on your own volition, but right now it doesn't matter. I can deal with this myself, and I need some goddamn space." I felt pain in my head as my eyes changed to that red color instead of purple and blue. "Am I clear? Can I go?" I say, glaring at her. She looked at me with fear, and the guilt on Winter's face turned to protective anger. Star quickly nodded, fear in her eyes as she watched me storm off, leaving my sweater and my bandages behind. I didn't care. This fire was hurting too much. Curlia's laughter was too much, and Star's ignorance was too much fuel for Curlia. For me. I stormed out of the school through the front doors, ready to walk forever if it meant every footstep I took was at least a little closer to being calm enough to return. I felt guilty thinking back to Ira, but I sighed knowing it'd be better to stay away from everyone with Curlia so close to the front of my mind. I watched my feet as I walked, only glancing up once I heard a car or had to cross the road. Minutes go by, such peaceful minutes as Curlia left my mind, angry at the lack of drama to prey on. I watched as the concrete faded to gravel under my feet, sighing in anger as my body brought me back to the alleyways. I stop, looking up with fear filling my weak body, like a jar of bees, half asleep or let loose in my limbs. I looked down the street behind me, knowing where the house was from here, and thinking maybe, just maybe, I could sleep the rest of the day away, come out at night where there was no one for Curlia to lash out at. I looked down at my shaking hands, red burns from Curlia's fire, and then look up at my arm to see the burnt gash. I chuckled to myself, thinking about how crazy I must have looked wandering around like this. I turned to walk towards the house, flinching when I see Star flying up in the sky, looking around. I groan, looking back down at my arm. I'm sure she's looking for me to make sure I'm okay. I angrily bite down on my tongue as I turn around again, bolting into the alleyways. I'm sure she thinks I'm some weak child without my demon form, my magic, the ability to heal. Well, I'm not. I can take care of myself, and I don't need her. I don't need them. I turn a corner, now not directly in her line of sight if I was before. I keep myself close to the tall fences as I run, breathing heavy as my feet pound off the gravel. The wind and dust stung against my arm as I ran, only prompting me to run faster and farther. I couldn't let it force me to crumble or ask for help. I needed to space myself as much as I could. I began to slow down after a few more minutes of running, my eyes watering from the stinging pain, but I continued to ignore it. Once I know I'm away from them, I can go home and take care of it myself. I slow my breathing as I hear quick but soft footsteps coming around a corner in front of me. I calm my nerves and turn slightly to hide my arm so whoever was coming by wouldn't panic. I sighed softly, a little louder than usual so whoever was running wouldn't be frightened by my presence in general. The footsteps got closer, and I couldn't help but feel fear as I noticed just how soft they were, only really hearing the gravel move underfoot. I didn't need to see him turn the corner to know it was Winter who was about to find me, and all I did was give myself away. I began to turn, only to see him slide across the gravel, turning before the momentum could give him a chance to race towards me. I slipped on the gravel under me, having to push myself up with my hands before I started running, but it was no use. Winter's claws dug into the ground, pushing him towards me much faster than I could run. I jump as he barks loudly behind me. I call for Star as he chases me. A very short chase before he leaped towards me, sinking his teeth into the fabric of my pants, a soft grip where his teeth only gripped my skin. It still tripped me, and as I caught myself with my hands and lay on my side looking at him, I couldn't bring myself to fight him. I looked at him to see his ears go back, his body low to the ground, and his tail softly curled up beside him. His eyes shone with guilt and weakness. There was almost no fear in them as Star flew down behind me. "Stop it!" I yelled, trying to snap my leg free from Winter, who only just barely tightened his grip to stop me. "I don't need your help!" I swing my head around, glaring at Star only to be met with the same sad expression as she walks beside us, kneeling down and then sitting on her legs. "Emma," she said softly, getting my attention as her eyes glowed a vibrant royal blue. Yet it was so soft and so warm. "You aren't running this time, Emma. I didn't mean to hurt you. I completely forgot you couldn't heal, but that's no excuse for the way I lashed out at you. Please just let me help you." I grit my teeth as I look at the ground. Then, as I look back up at her pleading eyes, I sigh and move my arm towards her. "Thank you," she said softly, gently healing my arm and the burn she created. It felt warm, familiar tingles as it healed, the blood flow returning normally, and my skin feeling so much better than before. "Why can't you guys just leave me alone for once?" I say, defeated. Winter finally lets go of my leg and sits down where he was, glancing up at Star and then at the ground. I look between them, a bit confused, opening my mouth to say something before quickly shutting it, feeling the imbalance of power come back to me. Curlia returned with a quick yet surprised laugh. "Aw, did I miss the fun?" Curlia says, striking fear into me as I look between Star and Winter again. I was too close to them. They were too close to Curlia. I quickly scrambled to my feet, dusting myself off, apologetically looking at both of them as they jumped from my sudden movements. "Well, you guys should be returning to class. I think I'll take up your offer now and head back home to rest. Curlia cuts me off with a sharp chuckle. "You're what, Emma? Uncontrollable? A backstabber in the making. See how they jump at your movements? They're scared of you because you're a monster." "Tired," I cough out, trying to cut Curlia off and shaking my head, returning to the moment before Curlia gets too much of a hold on me. "I'm really tired, and we both know rest would help," I say, looking at the ground calmly. "Emma," Star said softly, standing up. "No." I flinch and take a step back, scared of what I could do to them. "Please, I'm fine. I should really just be getting home." "You aren't fine," Winter quietly remarked. There was a calm politeness to his voice as he stood up and turned into his human form. "And it's obvious that you want to run. You just keep running, but you shouldn't be lying. Not to us, not to yourself." His silver eyes looked so calm that the quiet anger they always held towards me was nowhere to be found. I looked back at Star just to watch as she wrapped her arms around me. I stood there in fear, my hands shaking, my body struggling to push Krilia's power away. I looked past her, standing there staring at the sky, almost staring into my mind as I saw Krilia calmly stand at the other side of it. She looked smug and calm. That smile on her face seemed so odd, like its whole existence was manipulative. I was shocked back to reality once I felt a tear drip off my face. I noticed the sky in front of me was blurry. I could feel the tears on my face, my limbs shaking and cold. The warmth of my arm was still there from Star's healing magic, and her arms. They were still being wrapped around me, so welcoming and so warm. I felt another tear drip off my face, and I begged in my mind for Krilia just to let me have this one moment. I slowly wrapped my arms around Star, the tears coming down harder once I could hold her. I gripped her sweater tightly in my hands as I sobbed. I'm not fine," I said through tears. "I'm so scared, Starine. I don't know what to do. I'm scared of hurting you guys. But I need the help, I need the support, and I can't bear to be near you." She's so loud, so painfully loud with her commands, and her hold over my magic. I gripped her shirt tighter. My magic that has caused so much harm to everyone. I don't want to hurt anyone anymore. I don't want this magic if it's going to be thrown around by Krilia's strings. I cried out as Star calmly patted my back. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it. I don't want to be a demon. Emma, hey, you're okay, sis. It's okay, Star said softly, patting my back. But I've done so much harm. That's all demons do, and it hurts. It hurts too much to keep trying. I don't want to keep trying. Say it. Krilia boomed in my ears, making me cry a little harder, hold on to Star a little stronger. I wish I stayed dead. I choked out, giving in to something I didn't realize I was pushing back as well. A painful surge went through my body as my demon form took over, my wings pushing out of my back. Star moved her hands so my wings could stretch out freely, my horns and tail form causing aches through my head and spine. But it seemed so welcoming, so calming to have it all there. Emma, look at yourself, Star said confidently, pushing me back softly. I glanced over my shoulder to see my wings a normal purple color. Look at yourself for a long time. This is the girl we all know and love. You being a demon has brought nothing but safety to this world. Though extreme measures, yes, but those actions needed to be done. If you weren't a demon, I wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't have stopped Ava or met Ira. Hell, we wouldn't have found and saved Winter. He'd probably be out in the forest somewhere getting hunted. She smiles at me, her royal blue eyes glowing confidently. She's right. Some demons are bad, but you aren't. And the fact that you can see that you're trying to change every other demon you've come across, proves that you were born a demon for that special reason. You've come a long way, and don't get me wrong, you've still got a long way to go, and Krilia isn't making that any easier. But you're doing it, Emma, Winter said, smiling and standing a bit closer, not willing to hug me, but showing the intention was there. It still hurts so much, I say, wiping tears away even if they didn't stop yet. And it'll probably keep hurting, Winter said, getting a quick, angry glance from Star. But you're strong, and you can do it. I mean, your arm was burnt to the bone almost, and you tried to deal with it yourself? No human could do that. They'd be crying like a baby in the ER. He chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. I couldn't help but sigh and smile. It wasn't enough to get me to laugh, but it was enough to bring me back from the sadness just a little bit. You'll always be an uncontrollable demon, though. Krilia laughed, and I groaned as I noticed both of them turn their attention towards my wings as they faded to red, much like my tail as it did the same. I only knew because my tail was curled in front of me as I looked down. She seems to like taunting you, Star said softly as I turned into my human form. Yeah, and she's really good at it, I grumbled, running my hand through my hair. You want to go home and watch TV? Star said, looking at Winter and then back at me. We're only missing a few random classes. I did want to finish that episode I was working on, Winter says as they both look at me softly. Yeah, why not? I mumble as we all start walking back to the house. We sat at home watching TV until Mom came home, watching the last of Winter's true crime show and then a few more since Star fell in love with it, and then a few medical shows for my sake. I didn't mind watching their true crime, but Krilia seemed to love to paint me as the villain in each and every scenario, and even playing detective with Star and Winter didn't seem to tune her out. I waved at Mom and she entered the door, a little surprised to see us all sitting together. What a lovely surprise to see you all sitting peacefully together for once. I sigh with a soft smile, finally feeling just a little calmer. Yeah, we thought watching some TV together and just relaxing would do us all some good. I say, smiling weakly at Star and Winter. Oh, that's wonderful, she said, smiling at me. Her smile was different, a little off. It was warm and welcoming, but seemed to droop just slightly. Emma, may I get your help over here for a few minutes? I stand up, sighing softly. Yeah, sure. Keep watching without me, guys, I say, smiling at Star and Winter as I walk into the kitchen to see our mom standing there with a worried look on her face. What's up, Mom? Come here, she says, opening her arms for a hug. I assumed she had a bad day as well and just wanted a hug, so I didn't mind. I chuckled softly and walked over, hugging her tightly. It's okay, Mom, I say, patting her back. She sighed softly and looked at me with worried eyes. This isn't for me, dear. I flinched in her arms, looking past her, almost scared. I've heard you the past few mornings, waking up screaming. You're losing sleep for reasons I can't and don't think I'll ever understand. And I've heard you lying to Star, so I assume it's something really big that you need time with. You two are so close. But you're worrying me. Hell, you've been worrying me for months. I shake in her arms. I'm not sure why, but violent, scared shakes. I'm here for you. Things are hard in life, and it's only going to get harder once you're done school. And I want you to know that I can be here if you ever need me to. I felt myself grab onto her shirt, tears filling my eyes as I looked down, closing my eyes and just giving in to her warm hug. I'm here for you, my dear daughter. She runs her hand up and down my back, comforting me as I sob. There's so much I can't begin to explain to you, I say quietly. I know, and I won't push you to, as long as you let me know what I can do to help you. I choked on tears as a thought formed in my head, a thought that passed so many times, but this time I could tell it was here to stay. Mom, I look at her, trying to look through my tears as she calmly looks at me. There's so much in my life right now, and you'd be devastated if you knew the half of it, so as much as I hate it, please keep focusing on your work. And I look down. She just pauses, a little hurt but understanding. I think I need to go somewhere else for a while. She opened her mouth to protest, and I could only cringe as I cut her off. I need to keep you guys safe. She quickly shuts her mouth, looking towards the door. You're not taking Star with you? So it's really bad then, huh? She says, tilting her head to look at me, concern laced in her eyes. I nodded softly. Does she know yet? I bite my tongue softly before shaking my head. All right, I won't tell her, but I urge you to, at least before you run off. I assume I should give my sister a call? How did you know? I say softly, the plans I had running through my mind. She's a safe place in our family, with so much more understanding of you and your magic than I could ever wish for. And if you're running away to protect us, I assume running somewhere in the middle of nowhere is to be expected. I sigh and chuckle, wiping the tears from my eyes. You really know us, I say, sniffling. I try to. I really do, Emma. She says softly, hugging me again, a bit tighter, but only for a short while. I want so much to be in your guys' lives, but I'm so far behind, and I don't think I'll ever catch up. I'm still wrapping my head around with the events that led us to move. I shiver and take a step back, trying to clear the unwanted thoughts of Jason and Devin. But I believe you'll bring me up to speed in time. When you get back, maybe? Yeah, but if I don't, you won't be mad, will you? She smiles at me softly. I will wait as long as you want me to. I won't push you. And look at the ground. You will always be my daughter, and I love you no matter what. I sniffle, choking back tears as I try and calm down. Thank you. Now go on. You don't want to miss the next episode, she says, smiling at me, patting my shoulder softly. Besides, all those tears can't be good for your health. You never drink enough water. I chuckle and wipe my tears away. Being a little dehydrated is the least of my concerns, but I'll drink a glass if it makes you feel better. Please do. I laughed softly and grabbed myself a glass of water before returning to the living room, sitting beside Star once again, and relaxing there for the rest of the day. I don't even remember going upstairs to sleep, but all I know is it was nice just to relax for an afternoon. I opened my eyes to a dark room around me, glancing at the clock just to notice how early it was. I sighed, replaying the thoughts that went through my mind, the actions and words said between Curlia and me. I groaned and rubbed the sleep from my eyes, and then looked down at the blankets in my lap. Do you really think running away from your family, leaving yourself alone to bear this, is a smart idea? Her laughter continued to ring in my ears even after I woke up, but I could only shrug it off, quietly getting up and grabbing a set of clothes for the day. I glanced at my bag, picking it up before walking out the door. I could go through it in the bathroom so I didn't wake Star up. After I got changed and pulled everything out of my bag, I quietly returned to our room, setting down the pile of school supplies on my bed and leaning down to grab the books I had underneath my bed. I quietly pull out the spell book I had, flinching as Curlia fills my mind with the spells I've had used on me. Pain surges through my body as my death struck through me once more, getting so much worse when I felt a poke against my leg. A pristine black, gold-shimmering feather fell out of the book, and as it lay there in my lap, I couldn't see anything else but the gravel around me that I buried the rest of them in. The darkness around me faded as I heard Star stir in her sleep. I quickly held my breath, noticing the quickened pace of it as I stared at the feather. I took a slow, quiet, and big breath in as I put the feather calmly back in the cover of the spellbook and shoved it into my backpack, grabbing another set of clothing and also shoving it into the bag. I looked back at the alarm clock, knowing Stars was set to wake her up in about an hour. I held the backpack in my hand as I quietly walked out of the room and down the stairs, flinching when I come to the last step to see Winter watching TV with the volume at its lowest setting. I turned towards the door, only to hear him growl. "You told Mom you'd say goodbye to Star," he says quietly, turning his attention towards me. I sigh as I set the bag down by the door. I didn't even have to ask how he knew, as his ears twitched as the bag hit the floor. Hell, the fact he was listening to it at such low volume was all I need to know that he was abusing his extra hearing again. Although, at least this time, it was for everyone's sake, so he didn't wake us up. I look at my bag, turning to rest my back on the door, running my hand through my hair as I look at him. "I hate you sometimes," I mutter. He scoffs and shakes his head. "Same to you, but we both care about Star, and I know she'd hate to wake up to you gone, not knowing when you're coming back, if you're safe, not being able to say goodbye. Yeah, I get it." I look over my shoulder, admiring the cold colors outside before closing my eyes to think. I just wish there was a way I wouldn't worry her. Even if I tell her I need a break to protect you guys, she'll still protest. She'll still hate saying goodbye and worry herself sick until I'm back. We both know there isn't. Even if she pushed you to take a break, she'll still worry. She's perfect like that. I opened my eyes to see him looking at the stairs, a bit more color to his face than usual as he smiled. It was such a calm smile. "I'm going for a walk." He looks towards me again, a little suspicious before he notices I don't pick my bag up as I turn towards the door. "Alright. Oh, get me an apple while you're out," he said, smiling at me. It surprised me to see him so carefree this time. I nod as I open the door. "He was just happy to see you leave." Curlia chuckles as the door closes behind us. "Happy to know you might be leaving for good if I have anything to say about it." I shudder as I feel a pulse of Curlia's magic suffocate mine. I yawn as I start walking. The cold morning air fills my lungs as I head towards the alleyways. I remember seeing an apple tree a bit ago. I'm sure some apples are still ripe. As I walked through the alleyways, the cold air reminded me of my sweater. I sighed as I looked towards the school, hoping it was just put in my locker by Star or kept safe by Ira. I groaned, thinking back to the fearful and hurt expression of Clinton and Carl, almost feeling sorry for Winter as their eyes landed on him. I watched the gravel move under my feet, taking in deep, cold breaths as I walked. It felt refreshing. I noticed a few berry bushes as I walked, stopping to eat a few strawberries and raspberries, sitting on the grass that lined the alleyways and taking a good few moments to relax, and then getting back up to search for the apple tree. "The spells aren't gonna work," Curlia chuckled out of the blue. I groaned, ignoring her, and slowly continued to walk towards the apple tree. I could see a good few ripe ones on higher branches. I needed my wings to reach them, and it almost seemed so easy to try and form them, until Curlia's magic pulsed through me, bringing me to my knees, my back aching where my magic was, ready to form my wings. I breathed softly, trying to subside the pain and calm both of our magics as it pulsed through me. "You're stupid," she mumbles with a soft chuckle. I say, giving her nothing to feed off of as I push myself up onto my feet. I look at the apples above me again. Some were okay in my reach. A bruised spot here and there, but otherwise healthy. I grabbed a few for everyone back home, kind of juggling them in my hand as I walked. I watched the sun start warming the sky, the cold blues and grays turning to warm oranges and yellows as I walked. "Curlia," I said softly. I could feel her powers shift, like she was surprised I was trying to talk to her. "You said there was a god down there that would have your head if you didn't follow through with this, right?" "Yeah, and I'm sure if I fail, he'll be the next to come for you if the sentries aren't sent first." She chuckled slowly. "But I don't plan on failing." I nod softly, already having my next words formed before hers. "Have you ever seen him?" There was silence for a second, confusing and tension-filled silence. "How are you sure that he's real?" "How else would all of hell get their power? Where the higher-ups would get their orders from? I'm sure he is, just like the god that the angels follow. We don't get all the souls in hell, so I'm sure there's one there as well." I opened my mouth to talk, but she cuts me off with a chuckle. "And the spells? I'm sure the gods give the magic to the land and air around us. Spells that you think will work on me. Spells that have obviously worked on you." She laughs as she uses her magic to suffocate mine again, wearing me down physically. I groan as she seems satisfied with her actions. "And that's why you want away from Star. So you can go behind her back, use those spells and cause harm to everything around you with your uncontrollable magic. Then lie straight to her face and say you didn't do it. That you didn't use a single spell, just like you said you would." "Enough about that. We both know I'm running away so you don't hurt them." "Oh, darling, I already have. Or better yet, you have." I felt pain wear me down more, my emotions wearing thin as I think back to hitting Winter, yelling at Star. I closed my eyes to focus on her, trying to save my physical strength for the walk I had to do today. I sigh as I meet her eyes. They were squinted by the evil smile she had on her face, and the glowing of her red eyes only lit up the most sinister ways. She formed her wings. Everything about them seemed to mock me, the way they moved with her breathing, how they hung off her back, how they moved back to rest against her shoulder blades. I groan and glare at her. I turn away to get ready to leave this mindscape and return to my walk, only to see her now in front of me with 2 big bright fireballs in her hands. "I can trap you here." I felt fear rise up, the thoughts of being trapped in my head with her, and as my fear grows, so did her smile. She knew my thoughts. I'm sure to her they just echoed around here. "Curlia, just let me go say goodbye before you do something stupid," I say, taking a step towards her, my fear screaming at me not to do so. She chuckled as she glared at me. "And what are you gonna do about it?" She takes a step towards me as the fireballs spark. I had nothing. There was nothing to have to save myself from her. So I stared her down, staring into the fireballs she had, preparing myself for the pain that was about to surge through my limbs. She smirked as she rushed towards me, the fireballs blazing as the air around us fought with the heat and power of her magic. I closed my eyes, preparing for the pain, tears coming to my eyes with just the memory of it. I braced as I felt the wind move against me, opening my eyes just to see her wings stretched out, grabbing the air around us and stopping just in front of me with the fireballs blazing right in front of my eyes. I looked at her, unflinching at her angry gaze. I almost couldn't care as she raised a fireball towards my chin. I felt the heat against my neck and jaw. I just stared into her eyes, my teeth clenched, wishing that if she were to kill me, that she'd just do it already. She sighed, giving me the push I needed to get out of my head, her words going back to just ringing in my ears. I groan in pain as I feel the heat against my neck. It still burned lightly. "I can't, you know," Curlia said, annoyance in every tune as she talked. "I can't kill you. I mean, I could, and you make it so easy to. But you are the weakest one in your group. The only one I can possess." I sighed, rubbing the burn lightly before I kept walking. "You've been hurt so much, so many times by enemies, and the ones you love. And it makes it so much easier to persuade that weak mind to do my bidding. So that's why you seem to be so much more annoying since Star attacked me. Bingo! She shouts, making me jump. She laughs as I shake my head and continue to walk home. I ignored her jabs as I walked, and eventually she shut up completely, just a little while before I reached the door. Emma, Star said, smiling as they all sat at the table. They had empty plates in front of them, a stack of pancakes still by the stove, and a few random toppings in the middle of the table. Star got up to greet me properly. Hey, oh, and here's your apple, Winter, I say, tossing one gently towards him, making him spin around to quickly catch it with a smirk. Thanks. He sounded genuine as he started eating the apple. It almost made me reconsider before Curlia taunted me with what I could only hope were lies. See how happy he is for you to leave. He's beside himself, overjoyed. I smile at Star and calmly hand her one, feeling guilty once I meet her happy, excited eyes. Can we talk? I say softly, pushing Curlia away from the front of my mind. She paused just a few steps away from me, a confused look coming to her face, her eyes full of stressed anticipation as we walk into the living room. I didn't even have to motion for her to follow. She calmly walked behind me until I sat down on the couch. I needed to rest my feet a little before I was on them all day anyway. I looked up at Star, who stayed standing, leaning against the wall to face me. Her arms were crossed against her chest. I almost felt bad. Nothing she could say or do would change my mind right now, and I could only hope she wouldn't take it like I was running away from my problems when I was only running to save them, to make sure they were safe from me. I looked up at her, unable to hide the sadness in my eyes as I spoke. I need to take a couple of days off school. She smiled at me, relief in her eyes that only made me dread opening my mouth back up. And away from everyone. And there it was, her expression dropping to one of concern and sadness. I looked at the ground with a stern expression on my face, trying to form the words for any response she'd give me, but I was surprised when she just came to sat beside me, hugging me softly. All right, sis. I sat a bit straighter, looking at her confused. You're going through a lot right now, and you're trying really hard to control Curlia. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Winter told me to expect it when you got home from your walk. I sighed, groaning softly. Of course he did. Star chuckled softly, putting her hand on my shoulder. Emma, just be safe, okay? I will, sis. I hugged her tightly, trying to calm her a little bit. It helped me calm down, but I couldn't help but feel so scared as I ended the hug, looking at her with a weak, fake smile. I'll be back before you know it, and if you need me, just call her aunt. I'll be staying there. As she looked at me, optimism in her sad eyes and a weak smile, I couldn't help but have tears fill my eyes. Starine, I stuttered out, wanting to tell her everything I needed to before it was too late and before I lied to her. I felt my hand shake in my lap. I know, Emma. Just, please. She paused, seeming to look for the words in my eyes before she sighed and put her hand softly on my shoulders. When you use the spell, whatever it may come to, please don't lose yourself. I choked on tears as I looked at her, knowing every way she might have meant it, and her soft smile only confirmed them. She didn't want me to lose who I'd become, the strongest, kindest, pure-blooded demon who known to this realm other than our father. And Emma? I look at her, her words melding with my thoughts as her smile shines brightly. You are you, no matter what, and I believe that our dreams are going to come through if you just keep trying for us. No demon is going to be safe if we stop now. Not after we've come so far. Just as I start sniffling, about to say thank you, she looks into my eyes with a stronger and brighter gaze. Kick Curlia's ass, but don't tell anyone I swore, she says, chuckling. I couldn't help but laugh, a surprised laugh as I looked at her face as it turned red. Well, that makes me want to say it to everyone. Shouted from the rooftops. You finally did it. You finally... She covers my mouth, glaring at me. I gently move my hand, chuckling. Gonna make it a habit? I snicker, pushing her shoulder. Ha! You wish. She sighs softly and smiles at me. I mean it though, Emma. With all my heart, I'm begging you. Please come out on top. I can't bear to lose you again. You won't, sis. Don't make promises you can't keep, darling. Curlia laughed in my ears, making me cringe slightly, shifting to stand. I'm gonna go get ready, I say, standing with shaking legs, glaring down at myself. Wait. I look at her patiently. Come to school before you go. Winter had a surprise for you, and I think Ira did as well. Oh God, that's terrible. Ira did have something for me, and then I ran off. I groan, running my hands through my hair. She made cookies yesterday. She was going to give me some. I sigh and smile at Star. All right, let's head to school then. I just hope Curlia can leave me alone for half an hour. I doubt it, Winter yelled from the kitchen. Star sighed, a soft chuckle as she headed towards the door. I walked behind her, glaring at Winter as he smiled softly. You know I'm right. Yeah, I say, rolling my eyes. As I throw my backpack over my shoulder, I'm quickly stopped by Star, running around the kitchen with a soft smile and putting some pancakes in a bag for me. She smiled at me softly as she handed me the bag. Let's go, she says, slipping on her shoes and racing out the door, smiling at me with a big, bright smile. And let's fly today. We'll beat all the rush. I look down, a little sad and almost disappointed, a grim expression on my face before Winter chuckles, closing the door behind us. Come on, you sad sack, Star said, lifting me off the ground after she turned into her demon form. No demons left behind. Starine, I yell, laughing as she holds me and begins flying towards the school. Winter's chuckle turns into a laugh as he flies beside us. I pause from my laughter, feeling the wind against my face and through my shirt. My eyes watered with the wind, but it felt so nice, so natural. I smiled wide as we flew to school. Even before we landed, I could see Ira pacing the front area, holding a small box that I could only assume was full of cookies. Ira! I yell as we begin to land. She looks up at us, smiling and jumping around. Oh, you're safe! She yells back. I had these for you, but you disappeared yesterday. Are you okay? I hug her tightly as I land. Long story, with an even worse one I need to tell you. I sigh and smile at her. And I'm so sorry for running off yesterday. If I tell you why, you'll only be sad, so just don't ask. But I'm really excited to try your cookies. She smiles at me, about to open the container when I put my hand gently on it. But she pauses and looks up at me with sad eyes, like she already knew. I'll have to take them to go if that's okay. Oh. She pauses, and both of us seemed unsure of what to say before I patted her shoulders. I promise I'll start talking about it all soon. She narrows her gaze on me with a teasing yet serious smile. And the counselor, in time. I sigh. But for now, I'm gonna go away for a bit. I glanced at Star, who was calmly standing beside Winter, behind me. I sighed and weakly smiled back at Ira. Can you make sure Star doesn't worry too much? We both know that's impossible, but I'll try, she said with a soft chuckle. I smiled and took off my backpack to put the cookies in. You don't mind if I take the container, do you? I don't mind just having the cookies in a pocket or something. No, go ahead. Just remember to bring it back. I nod as she hands the container to me. I place it in the backpack next to the pancake Star handed me, quickly zipping it up and throwing it back over my shoulder. Hey, you aren't planning on leaving without my gift, are you? Winter says, taking a few steps towards the school before motioning me to follow him. I didn't forget. Just 1 second. I shake my head and look at Ira with a confused and guilty gaze. Ira, may I request something of you? She tilts her head slightly at me with a soft smile. What is it? Can I get, a dozen copies of those healing spells? I rub the back of my neck as she laughs softly, and I start to walk towards the school. Yeah, I already have a few sketched out, so it won't be hard to make more. I wonder if I can use the printer to make more. I walk behind her, thinking about the same thing before shaking my head. It's probably better not to use the school's printer in case anything goes wrong. Yeah, probably. As we walk in the doors, Ira goes straight as we turn right, headed towards our lockers. Winter was leading the way confidently, although a little guilt was plastered in his eyes. So, I know it's not much, and it didn't go completely as planned, so to say, he said, glancing behind himself as he walked backwards. I looked at him, a bit suspicious, as Star chuckled softly. Star caught my suspicious gaze and nudged my shoulder. Don't look so concerned, Emma. I didn't even have to tell him to do it. We bend down at the lockers and Winter smiles as he opens the one he shares with Star. You know, eventually we could talk to the front office and get you your own locker. Ira can help since she's one of the main helpers in there, too. Winter shrugged as he opened it. I don't mind, unless you want my stuff out of your locker. No, it's okay. Winter chuckled softly as he reached into the locker, pulling out my sweater. I couldn't get the old marks fixed, but with a repair spell I was able to fix the burnt area. He holds up my sweater with the arm fixed, with no sign of it ever being burnt off. It was a hassle, and hard to tolerate, but I even got the blood out of it too. Oh, wow, I say softly, grabbing the sweater from him. I just stared down at it. Curlia couldn't even convince me anymore that he wanted me gone. I looked back up at him, unaware of the surprised yet overly grateful look on my face. Thank you. I almost wanted to hug him, but I still felt so scared. Not even of him, but setting him off. Of overstepping the boundaries that were so close to being fixed. Making him fear me again. I clear my throat, not wanting to cry at this kind gesture, and take a small calm breath. Winter, I really appreciate you doing this for me. I don't know what else to say, but thank you. Star smiled, proud of Winter as he nodded. It's no problem. I'm just sorry I couldn't get the old marks out of it. I don't you really want reminders of those battles. I'm sure I could find a completely new sweater, though. No. I clear my throat again, annoyed at the tightness of it as I held back tears. I don't mind them. I mean, Star helped me sew up most of them, and although they aren't kind reminders, they're reminders that I came out on top, to protect Star. So, it's fine, I promise. And hopefully no new ones will be there when you come home this time, Star said, nudging me softly. Well, if it means I come out on top, then I hope there will be. Can we try for both? You come out on top, and we don't have another hole to sew up. Deal, I say, taking off my backpack once again just to put my sweater on, admiring the warmth of having it back on, taking my necklace out from under it just to have it rest against the fabric. Emma! I turned around, smiling softly at Ira, who was running down the hall with a small stack of sticky notes in hand. Don't forget these! She yelled, smiling at me. Oh, thank you. I gently grabbed them from her hands and put them in my pockets. Let's hope that'll be enough. I mean, I made almost 20 of them. If Curlia does more damage than that, you should be taking Star with you. I cringe as Star looks at me with fear in her eyes. I just hold up one of the spells and smile at her. Don't worry, I'm sure I can power through most of the pain she's gonna bring me. I just know I'll need at least one of these every time I wake up, because that's when she just loves to hurt me. I sigh and wave my hand dismissively as Star starts to look more worried. But I know I'll be okay. I'm gonna figure all of this out and be back in no time. I hug Star quickly, knowing if I didn't, she'd probably have started to try and convince me to stay home, to just go through a few more days of school, and then maybe Curlia would stop, would get tired of bringing me down all the time. I look into Star's eyes with a confident yet weak smile. I promise that I'll come home, but you guys need to get to class. I look at Ira softly. Can you tell Clinton and Carl what's going on? I think Winter wouldn't explain enough, and Star would explain too much, and we don't want them to worry too. I really don't want to get bombarded by everyone when I get back. Vera chuckles and hugs me softly. Yeah, I can do that, but I don't make any promises that Carl won't be super happy to see you again. I chuckle and stretch my arms out, getting used to my sweater again. Yeah, you're probably right. I look back over at Star, who was so scared, on the verge of tears, and looking at Winter for reassurance. Winter was calmly looking at me with a soft smile, before he noticed me looking back at her. I sighed and opened my arms for another hug, knowing she needed it. Please, Emma. Please be safe. I pat her back softly, shaking my head with a soft chuckle. I will, sis. I promise. As I made my way out of the school, I couldn't help but glance back at Star, trying to give her a warm, optimistic smile, but it was almost like she felt it too. This impending doom. Much like the first time I went to our aunt's house. I cringe at the flashback of my death, my hand shaking over the door handle. I take one big deep breath in, and push through it all as I head outside, and slowly make my way towards the edge of the city. It was a long walk, longer than I would be able to handle if I was a normal human, but even as a demon, this walk was about to take all day if I was lucky. The backpack on my shoulders soon felt heavy as the pavement under my feet turned to gravel along the highways. As I looked back at the buildings behind me and the long trek with the road in front of me, I couldn't help but groan, knowing this was going to be the start of a very long day. All I could do was keep putting one foot in front of the other, and hope I got there at least before sundown.